What kind of woman could make all the men in the village lose their strength with a single look? In a small Igbo village called Umunna, there lived a woman named Ekene. Ekene was different from the other women in her village. She loved food and cooking so much that as the years passed, she grew bigger and bigger. The villagers started to talk and stare more and more because of this. In Umunna, people believe a woman was beautiful if she had a slim waist and walked gracefully. Ekene was fuller and stood out, which made some of the villagers, especially the men, say she wasn't pretty enough to be anyone's wife. As her friends got married one by one, Ekene stayed alone, living with her old father, Pa Madu. Pa Madu didn't talk much, but he worried a lot. Each day he wondered if Ekene, his oldest daughter, would ever find a husband. Ekene's younger sisters were all married and had families, but she still walked the village paths alone. One very hot afternoon, Ekene was carrying a big basket of yams home from the market. A group of young men were sitting under a tall tree, watching her and making fun of her. Obinna, the loudest one, shouted,
Ekene, when will you find a man strong enough to carry your weight?
The others laughed. Ekene stopped and looked at them calmly. She didn't say a word. She just kept walking, her back straight and her face serious. She was used to them making fun of her even though it hurts. Her father had taught her that staying quiet with pride was better than speaking back. That evening, while Ekene was making dinner for her father, Pa Madu cleared his throat and said, Ekene, my daughter, I know you are strong and ignore mean words from others. But my child, I still worry. What do you want to do with your life? Ekene looked up from her cooking pot, her expression softened by her father's concern. Papa, I have no answers to their cruelty, and I do not know what my future holds. But I do know that I will not beg for anyone's love or acceptance, she replied, her voice steady. Just as Pa Madu was about to speak, there was a loud knock on the door. Ngozi, Ekene's younger sister, who was married but often visited because she was close to Ekene, rushed in with wide, excited eyes. Ekene, Papa, you won't believe what I heard, she shouted. That rich man from Onitsha, Mazi Okeke, is looking for a wife, and he's ready to pay a bride price higher than anyone else in the village. Ekene's heart skipped a beat, but she quickly took a deep breath. She knew how people whispered about her size and strength. She thought to herself, a man like Mazi Okeke probably wants a beautiful and elegant wife, not someone like me. But Ngozi wouldn't give up. Why don't you try, Ekene? Who knows, maybe he'll see how wonderful you really are, she said, smiling hopefully. The next day, Ekene went to visit Mazi Okeke's place to see it for herself. When she got there, the village square was full of people. Young women, dressed in their best clothes, had come to impress the rich man. They looked as colorful as a rooster in the morning sun. When she arrived, everyone looked at her, and they started whispering. Ekene, what is she doing here? Someone whispered. Yeah, why is she here? Another person laughed. Mazi Okeke needs a pretty wife, not someone as big and strong as a tree. Ekene heard their mean words, but she stood tall and didn't pay attention to their laughter. She looked at Mazi Okeke, hoping he would say something nice, but he just looked at her without smiling. Then he told everyone, I haven't picked anyone yet. I might choose another day. The crowd talked quietly as Ekene walked away, feeling embarrassed. The men laughed at her because they see her as too big and strong, and their words hurt her feelings. But inside, she believed that their laughter wouldn't be the last thing they remembered about her. Determined to change her fate, Ekene decided to visit a sacred river at the edge of Umunna. People said the spirit of the river, Omolara, could grant wishes to those who were truly in need. Many villagers had visited the river and returned with their dreams fulfilled. On a night when the moon shone brightly, Ekene made her way to the riverbank, her heart pounding with hope and fear. She called out, Omolara, I need your help. As the water began to ripple, a shimmering figure emerged. It was Omolara, with glowing eyes and a voice like gentle music. What troubles you, my child? She asked. Ekene poured out her heart, sharing her pain and her anger. I want to be slender and beautiful. I want those who laughed at me to understand my worth, she cried. Omolara listened carefully, her eyes full of wisdom. Ekene, true beauty comes from within. You must be careful. Revenge can lead to loneliness, she warned. But Ekene was too angry to listen. She demanded that those who hurt her be punished. I can grant you your wish, but remember, a bite of revenge is like eating a hot pepper. You might burn your own tongue. The next morning, something unusual happened in Umunna. The men woke up feeling very weak, like all their energy had disappeared while they were sleeping. They didn't want to work and were mean to their wives. Meanwhile, Ekene woke up later in the day. She heard laughter and shouts outside her door. When she opened her door, she was met with a shock. Ekene, Ekene! All the men that once scorned her came to her house with flowers and fruits. Look what we brought for you! Confused but excited, Ekene opened her door. There stood several young men, all vying for her attention. You're the most beautiful woman in Umunna, one shouted. I've brought you these sweet mangoes, another chimed in. Ekene giggled, feeling a mix of joy and disbelief. What's happening? Why are you all here? She asked, trying to hide her surprise. Your cooking is amazing. We want to taste more of your delicious food, they said, smiling eagerly. Ekene couldn't believe her eyes. The men who once ignored her were now all around her, showering her with gifts and compliments. They laughed and joked, trying to win her affection. Let's have a feast, one of the men suggested. We can cook together. As they began to prepare food, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. They shared stories, joked, and danced around the cooking fire. Ekene felt happy but also confused. Were they really interested in her, or was it because of the wish she made? However, as days turned into weeks, Ekene noticed something strange. The men, although they surrounded her, still seemed tired and weak. They laughed, but their eyes looked dull. As the days passed, the village grew restless. The wives, worried about their husband's strange behavior, sought help from the village priest. They poured out their troubles, and the priest, consulting his oracle, revealed that only Ekene could break the spell. And if they force her to break it, all the men will die. The men flocked around her like bees to a blooming flower, trying to win her heart with gifts and compliments. Ekene enjoyed the attention, laughing at their silly jokes and relishing their flattery. Yet deep down, a tiny voice whispered in her heart, reminding her of the voice of Omolara. Be careful, Ekene. True beauty comes from within, and vengeance may lead to greater loneliness. Meanwhile, Mazi Okeke was busy in Onitsha, pondering his choice of a wife. He had seen many beautiful women, yet something about Ekene kept creeping into his thoughts. He recalled her strong spirit and boldness when she stood before him in the village. Even the smallest rat can make a big hole in the wall, he thought, realizing that there was more to a person than their appearance. Days turned into weeks, and Mazi Okeke couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a mistake. He missed Ekene's courage and unique size, qualities he admired even if he hadn't recognized them at first. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, he sighed, realizing that finding a wife who would truly understand him was more valuable than beauty alone. Finally, he made up his mind to return to Umunna and seek Ekene's hand in marriage. When Mazi Okeke came to the village, he was surprised by what he saw. Many men were around Ekene, giving her gifts and saying nice things. She was laughing and talking with them, looking happy. Mazi Okeke felt sad as he watched her smile at them. What did I do wrong? He thought, feeling regret. He walked closer, hoping she would see him. Ekene, he called out, but no one heard him because the men were talking too much. The villagers looked at him and whispered, Isn't that the rich man who all the girls wanted to marry? Ekene turned around, and her smile went away when she saw Mazi Okeke. Mazi Okeke, why are you here? She asked, trying to stay calm, but her heart was beating fast. I came to ask you to marry me, Ekene, he said, moving closer. But before she could reply, one of the men next to her said,
Ekene is busy, Mazi. She has many men wanting to show her how special she is.
Mazi Okeke felt even sadder. Ekene looked happy with all the attention, but it felt like the happy future he dreamed of with her was slipping away. He turned to leave, feeling heartbroken and frustrated. A missed chance is like a pot of soup that spills. You can't get it back, he whispered to himself. Ekene watched him walk away, and suddenly the laughter around her stopped. She felt a sad twist in her stomach. Did I want this? She thought. The men who used to laugh at her were now crowding around, but the only one she really wanted to impress was the man who saw her strength. Later that evening, Ekene sat alone by the river, thinking about her choices. The sound of the water reminded her of her visit to the shrine and the wish she made. She wanted everyone to see her worth, but instead she got attention for the wrong reasons. An empty barrel makes the loudest noise, she whispered. She understood that true worth isn't about being loud or popular, but about being valued for who you are. Just then, Ngozi came to her, looking worried. Ekene, you seem sad. What's wrong? Ekene sighed deeply, feeling heavy in her heart. I wanted them to see my worth, but now I feel lost. Mazi Okeke saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and I let my impatience and foolishness take over. Ngozi gently placed her hand on Ekene's shoulder. Remember, they say, the loudest chicken gets eaten. Sometimes it's better to be quiet and true to yourself, instead of trying to make people who don't understand you like you. Ekene nodded, with tears in her eyes. I have to find Mazi Okeke and tell him how I feel. I don't want to miss my chance again. Feeling strong again, Ekene stood up and ran back to the village, her heart beating fast. But when she arrived, she saw Mazi Okeke leaving the village for good. He looked sad, and it broke her heart. Wait, Mazi, she called. But he didn't look back. He kept walking, and the space between them grew bigger. Ekene felt like the ground was disappearing under her. Please, I've learned my lesson, she shouted, but the wind carried her voice away. As Ekene stood there, watching the man who once saw her for who she really was walk away, she learned that true love and knowing her worth start with accepting herself first before wanting others to accept her. A man who lifts himself up with his own strength will never fall, she whispered, with a tear rolling down her cheek. Ekene's heart hurt as she turned away, knowing she would always feel sad for losing her chance to be loved for who she really was. Days went by and everyone in the village of Umunna was talking about Ekene and Mazi Okeke. Everyone had something to say. Did you hear? Ekene lost her chance because she wanted to show off, they gossiped. She thought she was better than us, others whispered, and their words hurt Ekene. Ekene tried to be strong. She laughed with her sister Ngozi and acted like she was okay, but inside, her heart ached with sadness. A heavy heart won't find joy, she told herself, remembering her father's wise words. She missed Mazi Okeke's kindness, his warm laugh, and the way he looked at her like she was special. One day, while near the river, Ekene saw some women gossiping. She went closer to hear any news about Mazi Okeke. She heard one woman say, Did you see Mazi Okeke with that slim woman from the next village? He's forgotten all about Ekene. Ekene felt sad. The thought of Mazi Okeke with someone else felt like a rock in her chest. She turned to leave, but one of the women saw her. Look who it is! The mighty Ekene! The woman laughed. Ekene took a deep breath and remembered her father's words. The wise know when to speak and when to be silent. She walked away with tears on her face, whispering, Even the strongest tree can bend in the wind. As days went by, Ekene thought more about her life. She realized the attention she got from other men was fake. She'd lost sight of who she really was. She decided to stop talking to those men. One evening, she went to the shrine where she had once cursed the men who made fun of her. She knelt and spoke from her heart. Oh, great spirit, I've learned my lesson. I wanted love and respect, but I went about it the wrong way. Please forgive me and lift the curse. Help me be strong and accept myself as I am." She felt warmth around her, like the spirit had heard her. She left the shrine feeling lighter, knowing that true strength is in loving yourself. After her visit, the men stopped coming to her, and she felt happier alone. She often thought about Mazi Okeke. One bright morning, while working in her garden, she saw a familiar face. It was Mazi Okeke. Her heart raced, and she wiped her hands nervously. "Mazi Okeke," she called, trying to stay calm. He stopped, surprised. "Ekene, I thought you were busy with your suitors," he said, smiling a little. "I've learned a lot since you left," she said, her heart pounding. "I'm sorry for how I acted before. I got lost trying to make others like me and forgot what truly matters." Mazi Okeke looked at her kindly. "I've missed you, Ekene. You have a rare and beautiful strength. I was wrong to think that beauty alone made a good wife. I've met other women, but none are like you." Ekene felt a rush of emotions. "I understand now that real beauty comes from within. It's not about how we look." Ekene smiled, feeling happier than she had in a long time. "And you've always seen me for who I am," she said softly. "I'd like to start over if you're willing." With a twinkle in his eye, Mazi Okeke said, "How about we walk together and talk like old friends?" As they walked side by side, Ekene realized that true love grows from friendship and understanding. Sometimes we have to lose something special to truly appreciate it. The people of Umunna watched as they walked together, hand in hand, with the sun shining above them. Ekene knew from that day on that she would never let people's words define her worth.